This is Cinema Freaks Live. I'm Larry, and this is Tony.
Tony's here.
And we're talking about the movie Logan, which we just got out of a minute ago. It was super intense. If you don't know the story, it's Wolverine and Charles Xavier helping this girl the mutant girl get away from this, government. And, really very impressive movie for a superhero film. Superlative, very well done.
Yeah, I think it was incredible. The R rating was warranted because it was an extremely gory affair, but it was very well thought out. The action was well placed. It wasn't too over the top, I felt. It was they got gory when they needed to. And
it was gory in a very realistic manner.
Yeah.
Like when they said this was rated R, I'm like, oh, whatever, I've seen that before. No, this was fucking gory. This was like a fucking intense, brutal movie,
Yeah.
The action was super realistic. There was a lot of violence.
In the comics, Wolverine's claws don't do jack shit. In this movie, they do what they were intended to do with sharp adamantium objects.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the comics, I imagine they can get pretty violent too. But this one, like, you don't see it in the comics moving like realistic blood and gore like it is.
I don't think the comics do it justice like they did in this movie.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the comics had dumbed down to be for kids. This is an adult movie. And what this is, Logan is basically, this is a movie made for kids who grew up in the 70s and 80s with the X-Men, and now this is a movie made for them as adults. It's a mature movie. It doesn't talk down. It doesn't try to appeal to all audiences. It's just this very serious, sad drama. They happen to be a superhero action film at the same time. It's kind of both, I suppose.
I like that you're using superhero, but I don't think I think it's far from being a superhero movie as so far as being like a more mature. It's good that you're saying it's targeted for mature audiences, but I think this is more of a mature outlook on life from Professor X's perspective and Logan's.
Oh yeah, I mean that and also the fact that I like the fact it's set in the future too. Like it's way far beyond the normal timeline. Yeah. I think they said 2029. I think that's what I heard at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was way in the future.
Yeah, like that's what I liked about it. It's not some kind of weird like Blade Runner future. This is the normal world that just happened to be 15 years in the future. So. That's basically what it was. It's crazy, and you're right. It's not a superhero flick in the traditional sense, but at the same time, it does have enough characters using superpowers where it still kind of is it's in that same area. It's a weird new kind of thing. We haven't seen this much before, It's not like a superhero flick with a bad guy in a costume. It's just Yeah.
Deadpool opened the possibilities to this kind of movie, and this kind of movie is the hyper surrealism.
Yeah, well, it's the R-rated. It's the R-rated action superhero movie. That's basically what it is.
I feel like you can have other R-rated movies that stick closer to the source material, but this is just realistic.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically this is the same thing as The Dark Knight back in 2008. It didn't really stick close to the source material. It had the basic idea, but updated and made different for a movie, and that's what Logan was. It was, a very modern world. I also they had multiple times they had the X-Men comics in this world, but they're comics in this world, but then they're also real. Except the real story was much more gritty and dark, apparently. So
I like that
was an interesting touch.
That was an interesting touch.
Yep.
There was a lot of parallels between the comics.
I'm glad. I was worried they was going to make that way too cheesy, but luckily they didn't do that.
No, they kept it on track. It was good.
Yeah, no, I was really surprised. Just it's a very good movie overall. I mean, it's really very well constructed. I mean, the drama was fantastic. It's a good old American road trip style movie. We have seen a lot of this stuff before. We've seen, the road trip. We've seen the little girl with powers. Yeah. We've seen the military hunting them. But all this stuff is done in this movie in such a compelling way. You don't really care that you've seen it before.
You've seen Logan be the wild man.
Yeah.
The grunting, machine of death, but never like this.
Hugh Jackman really does. He knocks it out of the park in this. He's fucking just a savage in this. He just kills everyone, It's crazy.
He is, and he's more... Again, we keep on mentioning hyper-realism, this is Logan as it was probably intended to be at its raw core.
I mean, this is the movie that Hugh Jackman and others probably wanted to make 10 years ago, but the studio was like, no, that's way too much of a risk, we can't do that. But now, the superheroes are taken so seriously now, they've become such an icon that they can take risks like this, and that's why we're allowed to have a movie that's so violent and it just goes so deep into the, the sadness and the drama of it all without coming off as it doesn't feel the need to go back to an action scene and dumb it down every 5 minutes. Like when there is an action scene, it's dark, it's kind of unpleasant, but
it's there.
Yeah.
It's there, and
yeah. Like it's not glamorous. It's not like the Avengers or something like that. It's very different overall. And yeah. What else? Yeah, very Charlie Xavier has these like the psychic attacks and all that. It's very he's getting senile. He's losing control of his powers. Like that's it's different. They're all getting older. Age is like a big theme. They all seem to really be aging. Logan's dying himself, like you were saying. It's just very Yeah, what was that you were saying earlier about the drinking and all that, right?
Yeah, he was pretty much killing himself with the drinking. I mean, they used the adamantium bullet as the red herring, but I didn't feel like that. It was his age. He wasn't taking care of himself. He was just drinking himself to death. He was having to deal with Charles Xavier having epileptic attacks. Again, there's a lot of parallels there to real life where you're dealing with somebody who's older and you're trying to take care of them. They put that in with mutant sensibilities like Xavier having his powers go out of touch and affect everybody every time he has a seizure. And
apparently it's just like treated like a natural disaster basically every time this happens. This happened once before apparently. Like it just throws everything into chaos and like it's like an earthquake and people get hurt. And that's just what, like you start to wonder, like, oh, maybe mutants really aren't that safe after all. Maybe the X-Men were, always kind of playing with fire in that sense. This stuff was going to happen, Yeah, it's all very, shocking. Like the violence just gets very shocking in the cruelty at times. Like, several scenes, like early on, like you see that woman who was the nurse lady helping out Laura, the little girl, murdered in her hotel room. Stuff like that, very...
The family brutal. That Logan's helps out.
That was, I think that was the breaking point for me in the movie. I almost couldn't come back from that for the rest of the movie. It was just too shocking, It was too, like, I never say this, but that was almost too far for a movie to go, I think. But that's part of what this was. It just was. It was very brutal, I
didn't think it went too far. I think it was realistic. You may help somebody out, they may help you back. And then sometimes you have to deal with unexpected things that pop up and helping each other, right. And it just shit goes wrong. And
it was definitely real. It made sense in the context of the story. I was just shocked at how brutal it was. That's all I'm saying. I really didn't expect that. The whole family getting murdered like that is very wild like that.
It wasn't just the whole family. It was freaking Xavier too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Charles, like Xavier, it was sad to see him go. Just like I was actually almost more shocked at the family. But like they were kind of minor characters. So like the Xavier thing, like I guess like since this is both his last movie, and Hugh Jackman's last movie, they both die. It makes sense. But yeah, it's pretty sad death. I gotta say. Like Logan can't even muster up the words at the thing. He just kind of throws the thing down and leaves,
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's very sad. Yep. A lot of the last half of the movie is him just like fading in and out of consciousness, And it's very bleak outlook on things. This whole movie is very dark.
It's very dark. I mean, you only get one brief moment where Logan, pretty much he uses mutant steroids and he pumps up to some of pre-Logan like Wolverine like style.
Right. Very convenient that they had that stuff available, but that's the mutant steroid drug thing.
It was convenient, but I liked it. I wish you had more of it so we could see more. But
how many guys do you need to get a bunch of kids anyway? It's like you could have just you could have easily been diplomatic, like hey, like we'll talk to you, tricked him into this, but no, you have a bunch of guys chasing him in the woods. Real tough guys chasing a bunch of little kids, right?
Yeah, well, it also goes into another play in the world, like, when you have these business types, all they think about are assets and money and stupid bullshit, and that's what happens.
Yeah. You had that one guy with the robot hand, the henchman dude, he was just there the whole time. I don't know how he didn't die earlier,
That henchman dude was so annoying.
Yeah, I thought he was kind of cool at first, but then later on it was just like, oh, this guy's kind of annoying. I can't wait till he dies,
That was pretty
Who
much
was that?
fun.
Who was the albino guy? I forget who that character was supposed to be.
That is Caliban.
Oh, that was Caliban?
That was
Oh,
Caliban.
I was wondering, the name Caliban seemed familiar, but I didn't know who that was.
That was Caliban. He's
No.
mutant tracker and
Yeah, I gathered that. I couldn't remember who
intelligent.
that was supposed to be from the comics, though. Like, I must have forgotten that. It's been a while since I read any X-Men, you know?
Caliban, another sad one, but again, they gave him his proper due in this movie.
Yeah, right. What was his story in the comic? Do you remember?
I think he wasn't technically against mutants, but he would use his mutant tracking abilities for his own benefit.
No, Red.
And apparently he helped in this movie lead to the extinction of mutants, but it seems like he changed his mind when he came into contact with Professor Xavier and Wolverine.
Yeah, a
so.
bit late to do that, but, you know, whatever. I guess we'll take what we can get, you know?
At least he tried to make amends for it. He
Yeah,
went
right.
out, trying to do something.
That's what I liked about this movie, is that it didn't, it was kind of vague on a lot of the plot, like what had happened before this story. And, like, I liked it didn't try to force any exposition. Like, I hope they don't do some kind of a prequel TV series or something like that. I don't really want to see it. I think what we don't see is more powerful in this story, you know? It's better that it's left a bit vague, you know, left to our imaginations. You know, exactly what exactly happened, you know?
I have to agree with that. I'd rather it be left vague because the profound effects of what happened are already expertly characterized in the characters themselves. You see how affected they are.
Oh yeah, no. Basically, like, all we know is like just brief slivers of dialogue, just about like Logan says some stuff early on about like the event that happened some years before, and you know, they're talking about, oh well, you know, I don't know how much longer we can do this, that kind of thing, and like, you know, the past, and Xavier said something in bed right before he stabbed. I couldn't catch what that was, what he had said, but you remember what? You hear that at all? There.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't. It was way too soft. I can't really understand his voice that much, but. Yeah, I don't know. Like, this also is like it's the last movie that they will do. Hugh Jackman or Patrick Stewart will do for the X-Men series. I think that's a smart move. You know, I think it's good to know, quit when you're ahead. You know,
they're going on their terms, and I feel like Wolverine went out strong.
Yeah, no, it's definitely very good. You know, this is the kind of movie that you want them to go out on. A very, you know, just dark, just intense, very superbly well-made movie, well-directed, you know. And, you know, I think it's good to know when to quit. I don't think it's good to keep going and going if you know that you've already hit your high point, which this pretty much is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, anything wrong with it? Was there anything you didn't like about it at all before we wrap this all up? Anything you criticize? There?
Nothing that I can think of off of the top of my head. I mean, character placement was good, settings were excellent. I mean, you have a very, like, unconscious and drudgy Logan, but even then, that doesn't drag the movie. Like, the movie was moving at a really good pace. It kept you at the edge of your seat. You didn't want to miss any of the details. Minor nitpick would be, like, I wish Logan would have been hardier or stronger enough to carry out more prolonged fights. But...
Yeah, right. I kind of like that he was weak, though. It was interesting. It was an interesting twist to have a hero who was just kind of like on the very edge, just collapsing. You know, like he was able to fight when it mattered, but, you know.
Yeah,
it was interesting. You see the struggle, you know.
And that's good, because Logan is essentially invincible, and they took that away from him. They made him really into
much,
an Asian...
you know, I guess even the mutant alcoholism going to do that to you. Yeah, that's what it does. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, I'm trying to see if I can nitpick anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost, at times, it was almost too much. Like, it was me and Elba, our other friend we were watching this with, we were kind of saying it was almost too much to take in. It was just so intense at times. But personally, like, I like seeing stuff go that far, so overall, I didn't really mind it that much. But it was so, just like, in your face. It's a very, if you don't know what you're going to expect, it might be a very intense movie. So, for that, but, I had no idea what I was going to expect. It was a real rush of an experience, you know. Almost exhausting to sit through, but, you know, in a good way.
I liked it. I thought it was intense in a very good way. It was an intense action film, and you know, if that's what you want out of an action film, you should definitely see it.
No, yeah. I mean, I think that kind of sums it up for me. Is there anything else you want to add before we close this out? Or...
I think the
Yeah.
little girl also put a lot of character, and she
Yeah.
also was very good supporting like actress in terms of
Oh
action.
yeah, yeah, like very much like Eleven from Stranger Things. That reminded me of a very similar kind of character type, you know.
Yeah, strong silent type, and
Yeah,
the rest of the kids, were good part of that ensemble.
yeah, Red.
I don't think there was a character that was wasted in that film.
I think this is finally like a movie that's it's so like artistic in what it does. I'm not sure any studio could really bastardize this and turn it into a sequel or anything like that. I think it stands on its own, you know, which is good. So you don't
They
need to have a sequel to fucking everything.
No, they did a good job
Yeah,
with it. They should put it to rest as it is. It's
yeah,
pretty good as it is. It opened the door for other future mutants with other powers. It closed the door for the current generation of mutants. You couldn't ask more
yeah.
from this movie.
I mean, I think it opens the door for other superhero movies to take more almost avant-garde like approaches and have different, you know, drama going on and more different styles of directing. You know, a lot of the Marvel movies are all they feel very like similar in a way. So it's good to have stuff like this is different. It's good to have more, you know, experimentation here and there once in a while. So
I think what's gonna happen is we're gonna have a lot of genres that are
yeah,
gonna meld with the superhero archetype, and then you're gonna have all these new movies that are gonna come
yeah. I
out.
mean, you know, people love superheroes. It's not going away. You know,
Yeah, it'll
that's
be
true.
interesting to see what happens. Like superhero movie mixed in with like horror,
Yeah.
or a superhero movie mixed in with drama or a slice of life or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, this one was like superhero movie mixed in with like an action western almost. A lot of drama too, but you know, a lot of very action western. All right, well, I mean that's all I got to say about it. I mean, I think this is a good kind of summation.
It
This
is.
was Cinema Freaks Live. If you could see Logan, probably playing in any theater near you, so go do it. You
Yeah,
know,
go do it,
yeah,
definitely. Got my stamp of approval.
yeah. Stamp of approval. All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.